It's painful to say goodbye.
It's hard to say I miss you.
The time of love
Is a gruesome cruise.
I need you now, beloved.
There are moments in life when trouble strikes. Sometimes it comes for the first time, sometimes the second time. But when it comes for the third time, it becomes so hard to bear. We are in the show, Painful Goodbyes, and our topic for today is when trouble trounces thrice. To help us in this show is our sister, Barbara, affectionately called as Babs. Welcome to the show, Babs.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. So, who is Babs? Maybe we may want to know who she is.
She's a lot of things. So Babs is the emotional alchemist.
Okay.
That's the full name, if we are going to go with Babs. Yes.
Yes.
So I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a lifestyle and wellness coach. I am a speaker as well. And I don't know if I should say survivor. It comes with too many connotations and expectations. Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to talk about being a writer as well.
Ah, yes, she's an author.
So which book did you write?
I have written quite a number of books. I'm actually working on another one. It should be coming out soon. My first book was entitled Pain, Heartache, and Forgiveness. And then that one was based on my life story, not in its entirety, because that will take quite a lot of volumes to narrate my life story. And the latest one, all in all, I've written about 10 books. Some are collaborations with other authors. We've made best-selling books twice, Amazon bestsellers.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, well, there's the monthly magazine, which means I'm a constant writer. So it's more than 10, considering the magazine.
Magazine, the bold dialogue.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Nice knowing you. But I called you Babs, and what's your full name besides the emotional alchemist?
My full name is Barbara Kamba-Nyathi.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Yes.
very much. Right, growing up, you had dreams and ambitions and desires, especially pertaining to married life. Share with me those dreams and ambitions.
I don't know if those were the dreams when I was growing up.
Okay.
When I was growing up, my dream was to help people.
All right.
I didn't know how.
Okay.
Because back then, psychology was not a thing that was spoken of. Counselors maybe, yes. But I knew I wanted to help people in a certain way.
Certain way.
Yes. Actually, interestingly, it was my then boyfriend who said, "You are not a counselor, you are a psychologist." And I was like, "But I don't know much about this psychology thing." And so the agreement was, I can do one semester. If I'm not happy, I can drop out and go to my counseling that I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I must say I was sold at first lecture. I was like, this is me.
This is me.
And now I'm a therapist.
Therapist. Okay.
Then the marriage came. I don't know, it just happened. I always want to believe that it was God's way of saving my life.
Okay.
Because to be honest, that was not one of my dreams. I didn't really care much about marriage. It was like one of those things, they just happen in life. You're like, okay.
Okay.
There is marriage, but it wasn't something that I was aspiring for. But God knows what's best for us. And when He's not done with you, and besides, like I said, my dream was to help people. I couldn't be helping people from the grave.
Okay.
So my marriage was a seasonal marriage.
Okay.
It was for my health mainly.
Mainly.
Because I had always said, I don't like doctors, but I married a doctor, which doesn't make sense. So we start from there, like, why would I end up with a medical person? And I'm saying, I don't like medical doctors. So it was lovely. When it was lovely, I had an amazing marriage. We were happy. And when it went bad, it really went bad. It was like bipolar. The good side was really good, extremely good. Then the bad was really bad.
Extremely bad.
There was no gray area there. It was two extremes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll look at the bad side of this married life.
It's painful to say goodbye.
It's hard to say I miss you.
The time of love.
Is it through some cruise?
I need you now, beloved.
Welcome back to this segment. We are in the show Painful Goodbyes. Before the break, we spoke about the married life of our Sister Babs, and we have been told that the married life was like bipolar. The good side was extremely good, and the bad side was extremely bad. And I love how you use psychological terms to depict marriage. I have never thought about that. Now, take us step by step through that kind of a journey.
Talking about the marriage, we were high school sweethearts, and we had so much in common. Like, we would travel. We both loved traveling.
Okay.
I think it's in our DNA. We enjoyed doing things together, like running. I actually married into a running family, so I think it became part of my life as well by default, or rather by marriage. And we prayed together. He was quite the preacher. I remember when I was not feeling well, we would have our own service at home. It was amazing. And he was very loving, very understanding, and we were both driven, like, business-wise. So we worked together. We literally did everything together. We lived together, worked together, played together. I guess they can be a bit too much of a good thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Yeah, then when it got bad, he started having affairs, and at some point even suggesting that we move in with the other two girls to make his life easier.
Okay.
Since I was always sick and everything. So instead of him going out to these girls, it was better if we all lived under one roof.
Right.
And
How did you take that?
that is, apart from shocking, I knew it's time to leave, it's time to move on, because we are no longer equally yoked, you know? Something changed along the way. And for me to find out, it was actually one of the girls who was jealous of the other one, and she decided to betray him and contact me.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Because I had been suspecting that something was off. And I would ask, because I'm a very communicative person, I don't believe in just being quiet and accepting things.
yeah.
I ask and I try to talk, but he would deny. Deep down, I could tell he was lying, but I had no proof. And I think that was the most frustrating part for me, because I could see something was off. I couldn't prove it. So I couldn't continue accusing him, you know, of things that I cannot prove. So that message, that Friday evening helped me a lot, because it was the proof I needed. And the way he denied, I've never seen anything like that. 30 minutes of just denying how people hate him. And I'm like, this is too much, you know. You can say, I don't know what's happening, or, you know, but he went on to deny. It was very theatrical, the performance and everything. Even threatening. And I'm like, who are you threatening? There's no number here. There's no name. Who are you threatening? People hate me and all that. It became all about him and how people were lying and everything. But if he had not denied for 30 minutes, I could have probably thought it's a lie. But those theatricals, no. No sane person does that.
Okay. So that was the first blow in your married life, and I think it must have been a bit hard. Maybe let's talk about the illness that you alluded to.
So in 2009, 2008, we moved to Namibia. And then that was the end of the year in November. So in January, we went, you know, when you see people, you don't know what is happening. People in Namibia, it's a very hot place. It's a desert anyway. So they would wear like spaghetti tops and everything. And I thought, it can't be that bad. I haven't seen anyone with sunburn. So I braved the Namibian sun. There's a reason why it's called the land of the brave.
Okay, all right.
So I was scorched. I have never been so burnt.
So
I was so sure I've developed skin cancer. So we were staying close to the Cancer Association. I went there and I told them I want the best sunscreen because I think I have skin cancer. And then we started talking, being me and talking, of course, you know. So I went in to get sunscreen. I came out a volunteer therapist for cancer survivors.
okay.
And I worked with the Cancer Association. Then November that same year, I did my tests and everything. And I tested positive for cervical cancer. It was so hard for me to accept because I was used to being the one who's helping people who are sick, not the other way around. I think that's where the greatest challenge was for me. Like, now I need help, like the people I'm supposed to be helping, you know?
Oh, yes, yes.
And I was in so much denial. I remember the day I got discharged from hospital. Remember, I'm coming from an operation. I came out in heels to prove, I don't know to who, that it's not taking me down. And back then, I used to have dreadlocks. Although I had alopecia, so I had bald patches on my head anyway, but I would cover them nicely with my hair. My prayer after being diagnosed was that I don't lose my hair. Which is ironical because, I mean, I already had bald patches and I was praying that I don't lose my hair. But God is faithful. I never lost my hair. My hair stayed. That was my prayer, that I don't lose it. I didn't pray to be for healing or anything else. For me, the first thing that came to mind was, oh my goodness, my hair is going to fall. And, you know, it's kind of like how we live life as people. We focus on the small details that don't really matter because I already had hair that was falling off. But my prayer was that cancer shouldn't take my hair away. And the hair stayed.
Yes.
Although it eventually had to go because the bald patches were now more than the hair.
Yeah.
So being diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, it wasn't as scary because, like I said, my focus was hair. Having spent the whole year giving therapy and support to people who have lost their hair, for me it was important that at least I still look like the one who's helping people, not the one receiving help. Because losing my hair would have meant that now it's true. I'm a patient. So it was a blessing because 3 months later I wasn't getting better. More tests were done. And stage 4 endometriosis was discovered. So the cancer actually saved my life.
Was it led to the discovery of endometriosis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't understand it was cervical cancer. I had been treated. I was even on, I even got the Cervarix, but I wasn't getting better. So they had to do more tests. And then they discovered, oh, there's a bigger problem. So that was the beginning of my journey with the hospitals. I had a relationship with Rhino Park Hospital to an extent that I now had a room that was mine. Anytime I would go to hospital, they knew where to send Babs. Nobody questioned. I had my own special private room, beautiful, more chairs for visitors. Yeah. It was such a lovely... But yeah, so from then up to 2018, I had 14 operations. And the hope was that eventually I'll be able to have a baby. So they would cut off the tumors and try to preserve the uterus and the ovaries. It went on until I was tired. You know, you come to a point where you are tired of being cut. Like sometimes I would have 2 operations in a year.
Yeah.
And because I have autoimmune disease, my body doesn't heal fast. So I would still be healing from the other operation and going for another. So it was years of pain. And then 2012, I actually caught a break. There was no operation, but I went deaf in 2012. I woke up one morning, I couldn't hear. And so I was talking, now we can call him the ex, right? Because he is an ex. I was talking to the ex, and I could see his lips are moving, but I can't hear things. So I'm wondering, are we playing a game or what? What's happening? I can't hear him. Until he realized that the way I'm looking at him and the fact that I'm not responding, he realized I must be deaf. Yeah. Something must have happened. So he panicked, sent me to an ENT specialist who also panicked in return because nobody just wakes up deaf. Either I was exposed to a loud noise or something, but none of those things happened. Even to the extent of wondering if I had been shooting guns or something. So I went for an MRI scan. Nothing was wrong with my ears, but I had a swollen gland in my brain, which also sent the doctors into a frenzy. Now, if I have a swollen gland, what does it mean and everything? So they wanted to operate me on the head. I refused. Nobody's cutting to my head. If it's swollen, I would see by the head growing bigger, but since it's still small, I think it's fine. I don't know whether it's still swollen or not. But there are telltale signs which show, like the pituitary gland is the one that regulates your hormones, your mood and everything. So from knowing me, I'm sure there's still something wrong with it. But like I said, the head is still small, so I'm fine.
Still fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, all right. So we'll take a short break, and then when we come back, we are going to hear more of this story. Thank you.
It's painful to say goodbye.
It's hard to say I miss you.
The time of love
Is it through some cruise?
I need you now below.
Welcome back to the show. This is the show Painful Goodbyes, and we are still with Sister Babs in this last segment. We spoke about 3 losses, and one of them you actually alluded to them. There's hysterectomy, which is the loss of the uterus, and there is the loss of parenthood and the loss of marriage. Let's talk about the lessons that come from these losses.
I think the first lesson is allowing oneself to grieve for all these losses. They are different, so the levels of grief will be different also. But it becomes a challenge when it's one person, it's only me, and I'm grieving for all these things. So the next lesson is to be kind to yourself. Because if I do not allow or own my pain, it's hard to survive it or heal from it. So being kind to myself, and also learning to be kind to other people, to understand that we may look a certain way, but until you sit down with someone and speak to them and hear what their story is, you may never know. It's easy to judge people just by their appearance without knowing what they are going through, whether it's battles or whatnot. And to learn that, the other thing is that the healing differs. There are stages for each kind of wound that you are healing. So sometimes maybe the hysterectomy is still very fresh to me, or it's the loss of the children or the marriage. So we need to be sensitive to each other. To understand that sometimes I'll wake up and feeling blue, it's okay. I'm grieving one of the losses. It could be any of those losses, yes. And also not to be ashamed of our scars. In the words that you love, it's important to wear your scars with pride, for they are your medals of honor. They are a testimony. We help others heal. We help others go through their own losses and changes and give them hope by embracing our own pain. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to stand up from my chair and wear my scars with honor.
Yes.
And with pride, actually, because they help me. When others look at them, they can say, now, because of this pain, I think when he is able to walk, I
can walk too.
I can walk
yes.
too. And you spoke about the loss of parenthood, and there were miscarriages that were there. And what emotions did you go through as you were losing each child, with each miscarriage?
There is the loss of hope. Like, I remember I've been angry with God. And I've told him, I'm done, I'm not talking to you, I'm not praying. And I would stop. Like, there are some questions that arise through that grief. Why would God? I mean, I'm already going through all this pain. My health is compromised. Can't I catch a break? You know? And the amazing thing, well, he is God, so it's okay. He can take anything. That's one thing I love about God.
Yes.
He can take it, our anger, our joys, and everything. But I've been angry with God. I've grieved. So for each miscarriage, and the thing is, some of the pregnancies were not even planned. You just discover, oh, I'm pregnant. Oh, it's God, you know? So sometimes I didn't even have enough time to grieve for those unborn babies because I was busy trying to survive in hospital. I'm going for another operation. The tumor is now attached to my bladder. I have a half bladder, by the way. The tumor is now attached to my spinal cord. They were everywhere. So my grief for the babies has been like kind of in retrospect. Now, when I'm not going through all these challenges, that I sit down, sometimes it just hits me, and I'm kind enough to myself to allow myself to grieve. Yeah.
So how would you help someone that's going through this kind of a challenge where they lose babies, they lose marriage? What words would you say to that individual?
Own your pain. Because it's a very painful process. Like I said a bit earlier that all these pains come in different stages and the intensity varies also. So own your pain, honor yourself enough to go for therapy, get healing. I went for therapy because some of the things were just too much.
And as a therapist, you went?
Yes, I had to stop giving therapy. I actually stopped practicing for more than 4 years until I felt, oh, now I'm okay. Then I resumed.
So that's a lesson of being kind to yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, with all these losses, you are transformed. You are not the same person. Like for me, even the kind of therapy I give, now I'm only focusing on generational trauma and inner child trauma. That's it.
So you are not focusing on one that will trigger
Exactly.
So this is a kind of self-care.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
will not take you back to that place where you used to be. It's understandable. So these 3 losses and all other losses came to one person, but this person is still walking. There must be some secret. Care to share that secret?
The secret is that God loves me.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's all. Like, I've gotten 1 million second chances.
Okay.
So I keep getting a second chance. I call them second chances because each loss, each experience, it's different, it's unique. So the next chance that I get, it has to be a second. Yeah. So I have a long way to go. We have an agreement with God until I'm done healing and changing people's lives. I'm going nowhere.
Thank you. Thank you.
And also, I had an agreement with the autoimmune disease, with the cancer. It needs a living body for it to be a disease. I need my body to be alive, so we will live together happily in peace.
Jeez. Oh, thank you very much for sharing your story. It has been just heartwarming, and you brought lightness into darkness, which is, you shared this story in a more relaxed kind of a setting when we are discussing difficult things, and this inspires us with hope. For me, Skumbuzo Dube, and Sister Babs, and the crew behind the scenes, it's a wrap.